Going live. Clearings the throat. Hello and welcome to That Beautiful Life podcast. This is episode 166 of That Beautiful Life podcast. My name is Caduce Campbell, sitting here in the beautiful Reading, United Kingdom, talking to the beautiful Roger Bergstrom all the way in Stockholm, Sweden. And it's a Wednesday, Rog. It's kind of like sunny outside, kinda.
Kinda. Yeah, I think it's about kinda here too. It's a bit of a mix.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a bit of a struggle here, deciding whether we're just gonna go straight into springtime or we're gonna stay a bit with one leg into like the winter kind of time and landscape. It is like that. But it's been a bit nice, at least over here when we're taking our walks. A bit sun and a bit warmer. How about you? How is it in Reading?
Oh man, it has actually been sunny as well. Like, so yesterday I went out for a nice little walk, got out of the house, got some fresh air, that kind of stuff. Reading's been nice, pretty chill. Can't complain.
Good.
Can't complain at all. Just enjoying the week.
Good, but it's like 1 week, yeah, since we talked. And my first question, of course, since I'm curious. I mean, you were last time at the as we were hoping, like the end phase of having the chicken pox.
Yeah.
So are you dry? Are they dry? Have they fallen off?
I've died. This is just actually my ghost doing the podcast. Actually,
okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay,
yeah,
good to know. Mr. Ghost, sir.
This is Ghost you. But no, it's they've dried up. Actually, the weirdest thing is they itch more now that they've fallen off. Like while I had all the bumps and everything, they didn't itch at all. But since they've fallen off, every now and then, like when I'm wearing certain clothing and stuff, like if I have a t-shirt on and then I have a jumper on and then like a coat, the pressure of all the clothes rubbing on the exposed sort of like scab left behind it, I think that where it fell off from, kind of itches me. So every now and then I feel like a weird itch that I need to scratch now in different spots of my body where the chickenpox used to be, so it's just been a thing.
It's been a thing indeed, but yes. I'm glad that you're over it. And
my new nickname is not Frankie. I'm perfectly not a Frankie.
I hope not.
Yeah, according to the chat anyway. So yeah, basically, it's been a week. I've been trying to get Chris out of the house, trying to get him to, because basically the cold is not really working for him. He's and he's in the chat right now saying need to stop itching.
Yeah, look at that. Hi, Chris. Hope you're fine. No, I can imagine. I mean, you remember definitely how it was for you. I mean, the first time you came over, that's a thing, and also probably quite some time also when you actually, started to live in the UK.
Yeah,
maybe,
true.
I don't know. It must have taken time to get used to the climate.
Well, I think, I mean, climatizing is a bit of a challenge. Like, I think for anyone when it comes to, when you're moving from one climate to the next, I find it's easier to come from warm to cold. I think it's more difficult to go from cold to warm because I think
could be
going from that cold temperature, you're so accustomed to dressing in because of the fact that in colder temperatures you actually get like I guess 3 seasons or 4. So you get your summer, your winter, your fall, and your spring. And during the summer, you know how to dress for the summer to a certain extent, but the summers here are not like in the tropics. In the tropics, it's humid. So when it's hot, it's just hot, right? And I think going from this temperature to that is a lot more challenging than coming here, because the thing is, I feel like it's easier for your blood to sort of like thicken and your body to adapt within about a month or two. You just adjust it. You get accustomed to it, and it's fine. Yeah. But I think when it goes to the humidity and the heat and everything like that, I think some people just like it's really challenging to go from that to that. So for me, generally speaking, I would say, I do remember what it was like to a certain extent. Like, I remember struggling to breathe. I think that was one of the most challenging things for me, was the air was so cold whenever I did any sort of excessive, like, running or jogging or anything like that. It was just really challenging to breathe. And I remember my sister mentioning that recently while she's been over here. So I get it. I
But hey,
understand.
by the way, it's still over here, so to speak, or has she gone
Oh no,
back
she's
to?
still over here. She's in Europe right now.
Yeah, okay, right. Yeah. Okay, good.
She's still over on this side of the world, enjoying the weather. The cold. But yeah, I think the thing though is that, like, for me, I think I've actually gotten way more acclimatized to the weather here than even like my missus, because like she now complains it's too cold or whatever have you, and I'm just like, no, it isn't. Like, and I'm in shorts and stuff walking around, so it's
Look at that. Yeah.
it's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, but it probably comes down to other things as well, how you are as a person overall, and I think for me, I mean, I was born and raised like in the northern part of
Yeah.
Sweden, like long winters, dark winters, cold winters, uh, and it was great in many ways. I mean, I got used to that, but even so, I always feel that I am a kind of a summer guy even so, because I've had those years of traveling, and I've been to places where it's really hot. I've been to the Caribbean as well. I've been to other places, and it can be a thing to get used to it, definitely, especially when it's quite humid like weather. I remember Borneo and the rainforest.
Yeah.
That was when it was like 90 or plus humidity in the air. It was like so. That was tough. But even so, I'm like, yeah, because I always feel very relaxed. I don't know how to put it. Sometimes during this winter too, like inside here, also due to, we talked about the economy, the costs of electricity,
Yeah.
everything now, that situation, horrible. But even so, we tried to put down the temperature, especially in certain rooms in the house. And I just feel that I'm like, I tend to freeze easily, maybe even more now than when I was younger. I don't know, but it's an interesting like topic, I guess, in a way, because I saw there was a like, how should I put it? Yeah, he's actually a Swedish comedian. He made this TV series here in Sweden where he's traveling to like these extreme places on Earth when it comes to weather and temperature. So we're not talking like Trinidad Tobago when it comes to warm weather. We're talking a place like I think it's somewhere in the U.S. Like
Like a desert or
somewhere
something?
California desert, where it's actually the hottest spot in the world.
Oh.
And yeah, and it's really unhealthy to be out too much during the day when it's like the peak, as you say, when it's like summer, if that makes sense. It's insane. And the opposite around, he went to Siberia somewhere, finding there's also a spot like in like the coldest place on earth, when it can get like 50, almost like around minus 50 degrees. Can you imagine? So one of the guys that lives there, small village, he was putting out the laundry, and he can just have the laundry out for a very short time, otherwise everything will freeze and break, more or less. So he showed just that by he took out a towel from a bucket. He was just about to hang it up a bit for to freeze more. And he was just swinging it over his head for like 5-10 seconds, and when he stopped, it looked like a frozen bouquet of or frozen flowers, like
Wow.
tulips. It was insane. So I guess, but again, the expert in the program, he helped David. His name is David, to what to think of, how to dress. Of course, the thing when it comes to also keep yourself like when it comes to liquid and all those important tips and stuff like that. But he also said that when you get into these kind of extreme temperatures and differences, then yes, you can get used to it, but it can also be dangerous if you overdo it, especially too early. It's interesting. So I can understand Chris. I can understand from Tobago, and then even though we're not like in the coldest period, and you also live in the UK, so it's not like it would be if you would be, let's say, well, where I was born.
Further
On the
north.
on the other hand, as I said, when I moved down to Stockholm, which is so long ago now, 1987, I think I froze more here than living up north. And the difference is, of course, here we have it again, humid. I mean, it's more humid here. So when it's cold and you also have the humid, it's like it's a bad combination because it feels colder even though you look at the thermo and it only says like maybe -5 or -7 degrees, while it can be in the opposite, it can be like maybe -20 or 15, which is not extreme, but around there up north where I come from, and you really don't freeze if you have been taking enough clothes apparently on you, because the air is like higher, if that makes sense. It's easier to breathe in a sense. So, and that took a long time for me. I'm talking about, I'm a Swede. I moved from north to south, and that took time for me, a very long time until I got more used to it. Or to be honest, I think I've said this before in a podcast, I have never gotten used to it. I just lived through the fact that it's when it's a bit windy during late fall and during winter here.
It's horrible.
It's horrible. I don't like that. I really don't like that.
I remember when I visited you, and
that's why I'm still looking for the dream house on Tobago.
That's you know what, Chris is your guy if you're looking for that dream house. But I remember when I visited you, and we went into town, and we were walking. And I don't know if you remember this, but we were walking, and at one point I touched my ear, and I was like, "Oh, it hurt." And then you sort of like got the scarf and wrapped it around me, because you're like, "Oh, you need to cover up your head, Q." Because I didn't realize that the wind was blowing on my ears so much, and it was freezing it. I didn't feel it up until like I touched my ear, and then I felt like a burning sensation. And in the city area in Stockholm, it is pretty windy. Like when you're walking around, you could just feel the wind blowing on you, but most of the time you're not even noticing it if you're properly, because I was, I borrowed some boots from you, and I had I had on my coat and everything, and I felt like I was good, but I didn't realize my ears were exposed. And that's when I realized just how important a scarf is, because up until then I didn't really care about scarves. I was like, that's just for bougie people. But then I was like, bloody hell, I need a scarf.
Exactly. No, it's true. Especially also like a hat. Protect your head, because if it's like cold like that, and as we said, windy combination, it's like having an open bottle. Like the heat or the air goes just up through your head and leaves you, and that's when you start to freeze more. So it is important to have that. I remember that too. Those parts, we were in the old city of Stockholm, which is of course a great place to be. It's beautiful. It's like a time travel back to the whatever 1200th century, 1400th century sometimes. But it's it can get windy sometimes, and if it's then winter, sure, you're gonna freeze. And that was your first encounter with the climate overall. So.
It was proper. It was proper. It was a proper experience. And I think the most important thing, and I've been saying this a lot to Chris, is that it's how you dress that's really important. Always
that's true.
Keep socks on. Really important. I think. For when you first come to this sort of temperature, you do need to wear gloves. Like I don't anymore. Like I don't wear gloves anymore. But for Chris, he needs the gloves. So he got a pair of gloves. Have a good coat. And you should be fine. Like once you have your appendages covered, like your feet and your hands, and then like you said, like your head with a hat, I think everything else is fine. Like I think you get through everything else, pretty fine. Like the rest of your body, your core temperature will just handle the rest of it. And then once you start to climatize and get accustomed to it, eventually you'll stop needing to wear more and more. So like for me, I still wear socks most of the time, but I do not wear gloves. I rarely ever wear my gloves, unless of course if I'm cycling and it's really windy. Then I'll have my gloves on, and even then I can go a lot longer without them, even while cycling. Like I can actually cycle without them. It's just if I keep going for like I remember I went for a cycle with my brother for like 2 hours, And I think maybe
Okay.
about an hour and a half in is when I wanted to put on my gloves. When I was like, nah, I can feel the cold, right? On my fingers. But outside of that, man, I was good. It's proper
Yeah,
good.
yeah, you see, getting
So,
used to it. But I think
um,
you said something important. I just want to finish this kind of weather discussion by saying
go
that
for it.
wearing good like shoes and socks in inside, maybe two layers sometimes if it's like cold, makes a huge difference. Because
Yep.
I've also experienced through the years that if I'm freezing, if my feet are freezing, it can easily get you sick. Like you can get
Yes.
a cold, and it's so yeah. Good shoes and being warm like that. It's the that's the trick.
um, Alex posted in the chat. Unless I go out with her, she'll steal my gloves, which she does. Usually when we go out, she doesn't have gloves, and she'll just ask like, "Can I use your gloves?" And I'll give her my gloves, and
Oh, nice. Hi,
yeah.
Alex.
But usually I don't usually I usually don't wear my gloves unless I'm cycling. Like honestly, I usually just don't have gloves on it, but unless of course I'm cycling, and that's pretty much it. But so far, just to wrap up the
Yeah,
weekly roundup,
exactly.
it's been a pretty good week. Chris has been cooking some really amazing stuff. The one thing that
Oh,
I think was peak for me, where I was just like, holy crap, this is amazing. He made this sort of fish with rice and broccoli and some other thing, and that was amazing. Like when I was just like, man, the fish was so good. I didn't even I think he said that fish was already in the fridge. I don't even remember us having fish in the fridge.
look at that.
But yeah, it was amazing. Like Chris is he's been cooking up a storm, and I'm literally just going day by day, just waiting to see what next he makes. I'm just like, oh, I can't wait to see what he's gonna make, you know. So yeah, generally speaking, he's been a perfect guest. He's been pretty chill, you know. And the only thing, as I say, is getting him out of the house. And he keeps saying, "Oh, I'm here for a little while, so don't worry, I'll go out in a bit. I'm a homebody, blah blah blah, so forth." And I understand. I understand. I happen to be a homebody myself, but nah, you need to get out, man. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially now, take the opportunity to,
see the city
explore and yeah,
exactly, you
right.
know.
Yes, get out
Like
there.
I want to like for me to a certain extent there's a side of me that wants to like show him all over the place, because like I've been living here for a while, and it's
Exactly.
nice seeing seeing the city through someone else's perspective. Like when I took my
That is
sisters
true.
around, it was so
Yeah.
cool. It was like they were like, "Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. Oh, I like that," and it was just fascinating seeing it from their perspective rather than just like mine, who's like become jaded and accustomed to it, you know.
Exactly. Yeah,
So.
yeah. That is true. I felt the same when friends have been here, in Stockholm, and the same when you were here. It's like that because you kind of also start to think about places that you haven't thought of for some time, and maybe that could be something to see or go to and stuff like that. So
Yep.
yeah, it is true. No, yeah, Chris, put on those clothes and those double socks and the shoes and the hat and get out. It's time.
It's time to
It's
conquer
time.
Earth.
Exactly. It's a new strategy game with Chris. That's what it is.
Definitely. What about you, Rod? What have you been up to this week? Anything interesting?
Well, I don't know really what's interesting for you to listen to, but no, really. It's been one of those kind of normal weeks,
Hmm.
as I've said before, when we have described our weeks, and there's nothing really like super different or fancy happening.
Hmm.
But it's been good. I mean, as said, it's a bit different now also since Adam is living at home again for some
Hmm.
time, which I think is nice. It's really nice,
Hmm.
and it works well. So that's cool.
Hmm.
And I've been continuing to, I stay on my course, if that makes sense. There's not like big differences. I have been continuing to, make music, post music,
Hmm.
do the YouTube videos. I'm
Hmm.
very consistent, I believe.
That's good.
Which is, yeah, it is good. Of course, it is. It's good when you can keep it up, so to speak.
Hmm.
And as mentioned before, I'm looking for more opportunities to upload the music and everything. I had one nice sale that was fun because it was the first time I got at some libraries it's different tiers, you might say. It
Hmm.
can be like a basic license, and then it can be like an enterprise and things like that. And it was actually an enterprise sell, which gives you a bit more. It's like 2 times or 3 times what you would get from a normal license. The problem though is I don't know who's behind, like the customer. I know that they've negotiated. I don't know what it's been used to or being used to, if we talk media. But so I start to think again that I should try to use a service that, well, at least you can use it for free up to 50 tracks, and they can actually track where your music is, so to speak, on the internet. So that could be fun, to see, where it is somewhere out there. So I'm considering to do that. Other than that, it's been quite, yeah. And I have to say once again, the longer days, if that makes sense, due to more light from morning till evening, makes it also easy. It's much better. I really like it. Now, also as an example, yesterday when me and Isaac went to the gym, maybe at 3:30 p.m. I think, and then it was, it's still like day. It hasn't started to become like afternoon, evening dark.
Yeah.
So that's nice, going there and also coming home, and the time must have been like 5:30 around there, and we tried then to start make dinner, and I made a stream yesterday too, so I have to get everything in time, so to say. But even so, it was still light, and yeah, it makes a difference. It's easier. You get some energy from that too, I would say. So I'm looking forward to see. I mean, we still have some snow on the ground, but it's not so much now. It started to melt quite a lot the last week. So but it's still April, and as we've said, April is a month of changes. It can go back and forth. It can go from winter one day to almost summer the next. So we'll see what's gonna happen.
It's currently my least favorite kind of time of the year, because the bugs are starting to come back out again, and it's
I know
pissing me
you don't
off.
like the bugs, so
Everywhere, they're bloody everywhere. Like, they're just starting to come back out again, and I'm just like, oh God, Lord, no! Like, just like bugger off.
Yeah,
So
it is a thing. There's one thing. Excuse me, my voice is not working properly. We have ticks here in Sweden, but they're mostly in like high grass areas, and like on the countryside and archipelago. But that ticks can be, I think that's the right word in English. They can be, what is it called now? I'm just gonna check, because you can get quite ill. I remember one of my former colleagues in Cromata, he got pretty ill one summer many years ago now. When it comes to getting bitten by
a tick.
It's of course it's TBE, the TBE virus, that can be spread, and you get like fever, headache, and you can vomit. You can get really like almost feel a bit paralyzed in certain like parts of the body. It can be quite severe, and that's also why some people like vaccinate themselves here, especially if they are in these areas where there might be a lot of ticks. Do you have something like that? Do you know about TBE? Have you heard it? Do you know
I've heard of stuff like that. I don't think I've ever been, like, I've never really, from what I know of ticks, I guess is the best way to put it, is that they're usually on dogs. And
because you can get cephalitis. That's the name, I think. When the brain gets in like an inflammation. So again, not a great condition.
Not a great condition. One of the reasons why I don't have dogs, and cats are awesome. So anyway, that being said.
Oh yeah, true. I remember that when I grew up, we both had a cat and a dog. And sometimes during the summer, even though it wasn't that, many like ticks where we lived, even so, you could see one if you really checked the dog properly. So you had to take them off,
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. But
they're creepy. They're creepy bastards. Those little ticks.
They are, and I would say this is the thing. I mean, in Sweden and I guess the UK, it's not so many like dangerous animals or it's never been, and I'm kind of happy for that to a certain extent. It's not like being in Australia. When I was in Australia, like 2 times, I was even though we were in the cities, I was checking my shoes because I did not want to put down my feet in the morning and there would be like a spider inside or something. And now you start to think, no, don't worry. There's no spiders in the city, but it actually can be because we visited. I think I've said this before. We visited a music university, and the teacher there, she got bitten on her chest sitting in a freaking taxi in Brisbane, and then you know that I have minutes to get to the hospital. Not you maybe don't. It doesn't really mean that you can die if you don't get treated like for some time, but at least you will get really really sick. So it's like, and when I've talked about the ticks in Sweden because I think about the mooses that can cross the roads and they can be dangerous because if you come with the car and they will come up on the car through the window and they will kill you, because they're tall animals. And if you come with force with the car, it can really be, it's devastating. It's horrible.
I'm just picturing like you're just driving on the road, mind your business, and this moose just comes and he's like, God damn it! He just comes there with a knife or something, because it's like they'll just climb on your car and just kill you. He just comes with a knife. Obviously, he's a moose. And he's just like,
he's a moose.
What are you doing here? He just pokes you in the chest, and then he's like, all right, I've done my moose killing for the day. Move on. Next car. Let's go.
Yeah, but you see, yeah, exactly. Yeah, they are the resistance movement here. The rebels, if you think in Star Wars. No, I'm not. I don't know, but it's kind of interesting because I kind of mentioned that and the ticks, and of course in Australia, one girl, she was born like in Perth, and she said I never went into the bushes by myself. Wow. I hardly took a swim in the waters outside of Perth because it's so many sharks. So it's like, yeah, well, it's a different kind of. And this teacher that was like the percussion teacher that we got to know, and she was very nice, took us sightseeing and all that beautiful stuff as well. I mean, she grew up in like the south part of Australia, and he and she and her brother, they were killing brown snakes with their and putting them up on the, how do you say, like the washing line or the line where the
I couldn't live there. Couldn't do it.
And the brown snake is like the one of the most poisonous snakes in the world. Okay.
Australia's not a place for me. I'm good.
Yeah. No, but that's also great because, as I said when I talked about the dream house on Tobago, I did my research and I told you this.
Yes, you did.
There aren't that many dangerous animals, and there was like one scorpion that was a bit like a bit too poisonous in my taste, but that was literally it. I thought it would be more, but it's not really that much. I was like, yay, this is almost like New Zealand compared to Australia.
Yeah, it is. I think it's because these islands, like in the Caribbean, like with Trinidad and Tobago, they've been sort of detached from a mainland for a while. In the case of, like, I guess at some point in the past, probably Trinidad was like attached to Venezuela, for example, probably, as that is the larger landmass next to it. But it's been a while since it's been attached, and I think I think due to the way in which Trinidadians or the natives of the island have probably evolved on there and probably hunted whatever they didn't like or whatever have you. I don't know the reasons for it, but yeah, there's just not really a lot of stuff to worry about there. I've really seen something that was out of this world in Trinidad, and I think that outside of the zoo or something, like going to the zoo, I've not seen anything out of this world in regards to that. But it is what it is, strange things.
Yeah, it is kind of fascinating though. Yeah. But besides that, yeah, exactly.
Let's talk some video games, and actually I have something really interesting about the video game that I'm going to be talking about this week that I didn't know before this, which is super cool. Oh. So anyway, the game I'm going to be talking about this week is the game that you guys are seeing on screen right now, which is called, those of you who are watching live on YouTube, that is. It's a game called Mato Anomalies, and I got this game for review and didn't think too much about it, right? So when I got this review, I was like, this looks interesting. All right, I got a review copy. It looks interesting. Looks like my kind of game. It's an RPG. and it's got visual novel and some other aspects to the game, right? And I think I remember mentioning this game, I think maybe last week or maybe the week before, but I said I hadn't played it yet. And now that I have played it, right? So this visual novel detective JRPG 3D game is available on Steam and pretty much every other platform you can think of out there. Peggy 12 rating. It's a single player game. It's got Steam achievements, full control support, and Steam Cloud. Not very graphically intense, like the hardware you need for it. Recommended requirements is at least an NVIDIA 1060 or Radeon RX 5800 GPU, or Intel or AMD quad core CPU running at about 3.0 gigahertz, which again, not a lot. These aren't high specs. For anyone who knows anything about computers, these are low specs.
Yeah.
Right? It's like entry level. But that being said, this game is fun so far, but it's more visual novel than anything else. And if you know anything about visual novel, it's a lot of reading. And you guys can see that on the screen. And that can be a bit boring for some, and it can take a bit out of the experience. But you know, if you can stick it out, there's something nice here. It's a bit of like Persona, I guess is the best way to put it, because then you have this sort of like portion of the game where you go into a sort of other world and you fight monsters. There's no footage of that here. I live streamed it on Monday, so if you go to my Twitch channel, you should see the gameplay of that. But you spend a lot of time reading dialogue, doing little quests for people in the town. And then you also have another battle mode where you battle with cards, which is sort of like a thing where you're supposed to like mind hack enemies and or people and sort of like get them to tell you things. So it's, I guess, a bit of three games: a card game, a sort of action, a turn-based RPG, and a visual novel. That's basically what it is. It's three games in one, which again can be a bit too much. I think the visual novel aspect of it is the part that I don't really fancy the most, because the game has some dialogue sections, but not a lot of it. A lot of it is text reading. And I think the thing for me when it comes to visual novels is that if I'm reading for more than, I don't know, 10 minutes or something at a time, sometimes my brain wanders. Like I'll start thinking about something that I need to do or whatever have you, and then I forget what I just read. I'm like, oh crap, what was that about? And I have to reread that section all over again to try to make sense of it. So not too interesting. But here's the interesting part about this game, right? So this game is developed by a developer called Arrowiz, which is a Shanghai-based developer. So it's a Chinese game, which a lot of people have been trying to convince me this is Japanese. It's not, it's Chinese. But their PR, or I should say their publisher, is a company called Prime Matters. And guess where Prime Matters happens to be based?
I have no idea.
So I Googled them. It says headquarters are in Munich, Germany, Prime Matters and so forth.
Okay.
But then when you look at their contact, it actually says Reading. It's the weirdest thing. Like, no, I'm actually curious to actually call this number. There's actually a number here.
Of course.
I'm tempted, yeah. But hello. So essentially, yeah, they're based in the same town that I'm in. So that's actually pretty interesting.
Good.
That the game I'm actually playing right now for coverage is a game that is, the PR happens to be in my town. Or at least it seems so. That is.
That is funny.
I have to wonder if I've actually been past this place, because that's the weirdest thing. I believe there are quite a few developers and stuff who happen to have an office or a base of operations in Reading. But I've not really met with any of them. So for me, it's fascinating to know that that I could just be down the road from this developer who happens to have supplied a copy of their game for me to play, to review.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's some fun facts indeed. It's what are the odds? You
what are
start
the odds?
To think. Yeah.
So
Nice.
that's essentially what I've been gaming this week. Rog, what have you been up to? Fill me in. What's the deal?
Sure. Yeah, I've been going back to a game I played before, covered before, which is the FPS game called World War III. That has been a game that I have a kind of a love and hate relation to. I think it's it was the game that was released in 2018. It didn't do well. It became more or less like dead. But the developers Farm 51 decided to give it another go, so they made it free to play, and it was in closed beta for a long time. I played it back and forth, I would say. The problem though is that there was like no new content for years, you know. And when they then decided to launch the game, like it went into open beta and then like, you know, was launched like fall last year. It had a horrible kind of launch, you know, becoming public. There was problems with servers, and the servers has always been like a weak point. This is a small Polish studio, and of course they can't really, they don't have the like well, the economy, I would say, first maybe to get everything right, but they've had quite a few years, you know, to fix things, and it's still not really performing as it could be, or I wish it would perform in order to really, you know, reach some higher ground. Because the game, think about it like well, it's a kind of a battlefield game. It has vehicles. It's like big maps. The big game mode called Tactical Ops. It's like playing Conquest in Battlefield, literally. And then when they, you know, after they release the game, they are like, is this season 2 or something? They just, nevertheless, they did release some new content now. It was like 2 maps situated in Japan. I made a video about it, and I talk about the fact or speculating a bit if this could actually help to like boost the player count a bit again. Because they lost a lot of players, both like old veterans like me, you might say, but also the opportunity or possibility to actually gain a new audience, you know, due to the technical issues and also the lack of content overall. The new maps are pretty nice. The one is called Tokyo, and that's when you play the Tactical Ops game mode, apparently, but also something called Fubar, which is a new game mode, something I wish they would have implemented earlier in the game, since it's a non-vehicle game mode. It's like Tactical Ops, but without vehicles. So infantry only. And then they take a smaller portion of the map, which is a business or area district in Tokyo, where I've been a few times, which is called Shibuya. And it's kind of funny because that area where you're playing like domination or in team deathmatch in World War III is one of the like most crowded places, I would say, especially during business time in any part of the world. I think 2.4 million people are crossing the crossing, so to say, during peak hour. I remember what I did. I think the first time I was in Japan, I was standing there during peak hour, and it was a bit of a surreal experience because you know that you see all these businessmen having more or less similar suits, and it's hundreds or even thousands of them, and the same with the women, like the suits they have for going to work, and it was so strange, you know. But it's Japan indeed, Tokyo. But they look good. The maps play pretty well and everything. So that's cool. That's nice. You know, I actually enjoyed. I had some good matches also yesterday in the stream. So it was, you know, it was pretty fun to go back to. And I think the strength is the gunplay. The gunplay is pretty cool in the game. It offers something. I wouldn't say like different, but it's good. You know. But as said, the absence of new content in combination with the experience of a bit of a roller coaster sometimes, because I can see that the connection or the connections to the servers are, you know, on a fluctuation kind of thing. When you go in there, you see, okay, everyone has to, because, you know, after each player, you can see like these connection bars, which is kind of a common system. And you see, okay, he has green bars, I have green bars, but these guys have like yellow or red, and then that's never good. But I was in some matches, you know, where everyone had like yellow bars or even red bars, and that's not good. Not when you play in a shooter like that. It's not good. So again, a bit of a love and hate relationship to this game. Even so, I mean, nowadays it's free to play. I also wish that they would have taken it's the older model from when it was released in 2018 as a paid game. It's also that the publisher was My Games, I believe. So they are still running the game through that launcher, even though you start to play it through Steam. I mean, you click through Steam, but then you have to even so start the game through the launcher. I wish that they would have taken that away of the equation and just let it be a Steam alone game. standalone game. And also they've had problems. I know that my games they change publishers like halfway through, or not too long ago, and it's like 3 different names, and it's like publisher. I've never ever heard the name of these guys. It's like, who are they? So yeah, I feel a bit sorry for Farm 51. I mean, they have good intentions, but it seems as they have. If I'm gonna be harsh, the game has been a bit mistreated through the years. I think maybe someone else would have been able to actually get this together as a whole and even faster. But yeah, it's a bit a pity. You know, when you see a game and play a game that has potential or has had potential, and then it never really happens so much more from there. You know. That's a bit of the experience I sometimes have. Sure, now it is better than it was like some time ago, but still, yeah, that's what I've been doing, playing World War III for you.
Into this, Ian.
Yeah, it's every time I say World War III now, I mean, it's just fiction, it's a game, but even so, due to the reality in real life, it's
that
like,
we live in right now.
Yeah, it's Bob.
You know, I almost named the episode subtitle World War III, like when I was when I was picking, because I usually just pick something from what our topics are from, and I when I think about like what to use. And I had it as World War III at first, but then I was like, yeah, nah. I switched it to Mato Anomalies, because obviously I have the footage for this as well. So yeah, I was like, great, well, I'll just use that for now. And
it sounds a bit better.
Definitely.
At least now, yeah.
In these times, in these troubled times, yeah. You know, I'm not going to lie. I do be worried when sometimes I'm in the shower and I'm like, what if, what if I'm in the shower and there's a huge explosion outside, and I got, I'm like, oh God, I try not to think about it, but I think about it. So anyway, that being said, I worry.
Yeah, but with that said, also, I think, yeah, that's interesting that you mentioned exactly that, because I have watched a movie on Netflix called Extinction. Sorry,
Extinction.
Yeah, and he had there's a guy in this movie that has those kind of cue moments, you might say. he get these like thoughts and worries about something bad is about to happen, and he also get these flashes like seeing things like an invasion from a foreign something, and he starts to believe that it's actually aliens. And he's working and he has his family, two daughters, and everything is pretty nice, I would say, but he has this recurring dream, and he also actually dreams that he's losing his family. And all of a sudden, well, he's not standing in the shower as you did, but all of a sudden his nightmare actually turns into this reality, because the planet is invaded by a force, and they're fighting for their lives. The kind of panic that occurs, like that, they did that part pretty well in the movie, I think, when it actually happened. And he got surprised, but at the same time, he didn't get surprised because he had kind of foreseen this. And his wife wanted him, and also his boss at work wanted him to go to this like psychologist and start to talk about his dreams, and because he had problems sleeping and everything. But even so, it was kind of a nice movie. It's not one of those movies that I sometimes say that, oh, you have to watch this. This is one that you can watch, or you can just don't. You want. It's not like a masterpiece.
Is it like B movie, like those bad
no,
movies?
No, it's not a B movie. No,
it's not a B movie. Okay,
this is a professional production, and it holds a quality that is like above a B movie, definitely. It has a 5.8 out of 10 on IMDb. I would give it a 6.
Oof.
I would give it a 6, and I think there's reasons for that. I think if you've seen the actors, I think Michael Pena. Yeah, Michael Pena has been in other movies. I've seen him before.
I've seen him
goes
too.
for his wife. Yeah, Lizzie Kaplan also. I think that's her name. And if I would say it's a bit like a mix of World of Wars and Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger, if you know those movies. So it has its moments, both like action-wise and also actually more through the connection between the people here and especially his family. That is a bit like engaging. You need something that pulls you into the story or a movie, right? Not only effects can do that. So, but yeah, it's I give it a half thumb up, if that makes sense. It means that it's a pretty cool movie if you like this kind of action sci-fi drama kind of thing. Yeah, and I'm not gonna say more about it because if I would spoil what actually happens and who they are that are coming and everything. The plot.
Well, I for one will be spoiling what I watched this week because it's something that we spoke about in the past, and I finally watched it. You reminded me that I should watch it last week, and I did, which was Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah.
Sorry. So
yeah, okay. Look at
so
that.
I watched
Yeah,
it.
Go.
I watched the entire movie from beginning to end. I started initially with I was actually watching with Lex and Alex at first, and then I started falling asleep on the sofa because it was like at the end of the day and I was like really tired. But then I woke up the next morning and I put it on by myself and I just watched it, and I want to say it's a good movie. There are some things that I did not like and there are things that I liked. So for one, I like Ryan Gosling in the movie. I think Ryan Gosling does a good job. He plays his role perfectly.
Yeah,
yes.
I like him.
He's very likable, very cool. He was able to wipe out my impression of him as Hercules slightly, but as young Hercules. But that being said, I did like Ryan Gosling in it. I thought he was pretty chill. I didn't like the little moment that I felt like an actor like David Bautista was wasted. He's so limited. I was like, why can't they use him more? Because he had such a short moment in it. Because when he came on screen, I was like, is that Bautista? And I think Chris and Alex were like, yeah, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I was expecting him to be there longer because obviously you don't hire a guy like Bautista and just leave him in there for like 2 seconds or something. But that's what happened. And then, similarly, with regards to the ending, I'm not going to spoil the ending per se, but with regards to the ending, I was expecting it to be him. That's the best way I could put it. I'm not going to spoil it, but for those who've seen the film, you should know what I'm talking about. I was expecting it to be him, based on how everything had built up. And I felt like how it was built up, like when they revealed who it was at the end, I found it anticlimactic. Like I was confused. I was like, why? Okay. Why not? Like this. Like I have no attachment to this particular character and care not about this whole thing, and so his whole plot line at the end was kind of like, okay, interesting, and then maybe if I watched the second time, maybe it would make more sense. Because there is that scene where he meets this person who is crafting memories, and she cries when she sees this memory that he has.
Yeah.
And I just figured, wow, that's just a good like she's just empathetic or something. But based on how the film goes, it's like, no, maybe not. I don't know. It's confusing in that sense. Like there's certain aspects of this that's a bit confusing, and I'm not sure about yet. Maybe watching a second time will make more sense. The show has an 8.0 on IMDb. I actually give it a 7, and that 7 is because of the fact I wish the ending was a little bit different, and also I don't want to say I wish they used Harrison Ford more, because like I felt like his role was good enough for him. But still, I don't know. I wish I have wishes for this film. Like I wish I had more of it. And yeah, Jared Leto played a role though. Like I like Jared Leto in it. I think he was pretty good.
I think he also does it well.
Yeah,
it's a very special kind of role actually. It's very, I don't know. It's he does it well. I agree with you. Regarding the end that you just mentioned, I kind of understand to a certain degree what you mean, but I also kind of like that it's not him. It's not the obvious, not what it's built up or what he believes. And it kind of makes it a bit like almost it's in a way it's a mix of a happy and a sad ending per se. It's a kind of an interesting ending in many ways. I also like, I mean, granted, I think it's good if you have watched like the first Blade Runner movie.
Yeah, I saw the first one, so
yeah, because it kind of it does connect.
Yeah, it connects well.
Yeah, so yeah, and that it does. I agree, and that's also what happens since you mentioned that Harrison Ford shows up towards the end of the movie, and yeah. Oh, sorry, I don't know what's happening here. Hello. Yeah, but even so, it is cool. I also liked it when I watched it. Apparently, I'm gonna stay around the IMDb rating. For me, it is an 8.
It is an 8.
It's
okay.
Yeah, it is. It's so well packaged and like the whole. I also like the atmosphere with the music. It kind of does it well for the movie. So, but I'm glad you watched it, because this is, of course, a kind of a it's kind of a cult movie in a way, since it's Blade Runner and again it knits things together from the past when it comes to the history, and it's kind of interesting since I talked about a movie recently with Ryan Gosling and Ana de Armas. They were back together on the screen. You know, Ana de Armas is the beautiful or very cute virtual girlfriend that he has, right? In the movie.
I didn't like how she how what they did with her as well either, to be honest. When they basically sort of like ended her from the film, you know, I was just sort of like, oh, why? Because I was thinking maybe he would get like he'd go to the company or something and they'd print a body for her and it'd be amazing, and they would go off into the sunset and all that kind of romantic stuff.
You've watched too many romantic comedies, like
yeah,
you're spoiled with happy endings. That's what it is.
I do like me some good old happy endings, and this did not have a happy ending per se. It had a bittersweet,
kind of a mix. Bittersweet is a good word, actually. It's kind of that, yeah.
Precisely. But it is what it is. You know, 7 ain't bad. You know, it's better than 6. So
true.
So yeah, that's Blade Runner 2049. I think you can take that as a recommendation from us, because Rog thinks it's an 8. I think it's a 7, so that's good enough for a recommendation. I think you guys should check it out. It's a long movie.
It simply means that it's 7.5.
It's pretty much a 7.5. Just make sure to like clear the time to watch it, because it is a long enough film, and you're gonna need to like sit down and properly take it in. And also, don't watch it when you're tired. Like, that's not the best way to see this film. I think you need to watch it when like you're like fully in your faculties to like truly appreciate it, you know. So,
I agree.
Yeah, that's essentially it. I am gonna watch more Ryan Gosling films. What's the one you watched? The Grey Man? I think that's on my next watch list. I think I'll watch that next.
Exactly. Yeah, right. Because that's that's the one I mentioned when it comes to him and her being on the same. Yeah, exactly. There we go.
I will be checking that out next and seeing if I like it or not. So
exactly,
we shall be checking out The Grey Man next. Anywho's it. That's an episode. Hopefully you guys had a good time listening to us talk about stuff and hanging out with us here in the chat. We have, like, I have noticed the comments. Ocean, welcome to the podcast. I don't know if you're still watching at this particular point in time, but Ocean did drop a hey Q, hey Roger.
Nice.
I do like to read.
Hi.
Yeah, hi. I do like to read the comments for those of you that turn up live. Sort of like an incentive to be live in the chat while we're doing the podcast, but at the same time, I don't like to like cut the conversation when we're having a good flow about a topic, essentially. That being said, how about there's a thing that we usually write about now, Raj, and what's that thing called again?
Shout out for your channel.
I think I'm not gonna shout out. I don't think we shout out a channel today or a podcast. I think today we shout out a subscription service. What do you think?
Yeah, we can do that. Why not?
So
you have anything in mind?
Yes, I do actually. Well, this is not really a subscription, but it's something I think people should check out. So essentially, if you happen to have a PC and you're a gamer, big shout out to Epic Games and the Epic Games Store, because they give away 2 free games almost every week, right? Or every
That's
2
true.
weeks or something. And the current games they have right now on giveaway is a game called The Silent Age and Tunic, I think is the other game. Tunic looks to be the better of the two. It's got that indie vibe, and there's a character from one of the indie games that I personally enjoyed, which is A Hat in Time. There's the character from that is in this game as well. And then next week, which is from April the 6th, which is actually tomorrow, they're adding Dying Light Enhanced Edition to it, as well as a game called Shapers.
Wow.
And I think that the sweet thing about how the Epic Store do it is that there are a lot of games that sometimes you probably otherwise wouldn't pick up. And they probably wouldn't sell as well in on the market. Maybe not a lot of people buy it or whatever have you and so forth. And I think the fact that Epic just gives away these games every week or two is great, because you find a lot of games that people end up trying out that otherwise probably wouldn't try out in that sense. And it also kind of builds investment in the Epic platform as a whole, because if you've started out with an Epic account and you maybe didn't have a Steam account, and you've been collecting these free games for a while, you've pretty much got an investment in this for the long haul, and you're probably never going to have care about Steam. Like, you're going to want to buy your games on Epic for the foreseeable future. And right now, I want to say, because of these free games, my Epic account probably is very close to rivaling my Steam account right now, because I've got a lot of games on here. So I just want to say shout out to Epic and their free games. It's amazing. I've got 300 games on my Epic account right now. That says a lot. And most of these games are free. I did pay for maybe 1 or 2 of these games, and some of them were review copies. But 300 games? Yo, that's insane.
That's many. Yeah.
That's a lot, especially in the short period of time that they've been doing these free games. And if I look at my Steam account, in total on Steam, I've got 600 and something games in total. So it's about half my Steam account. And I've had my Steam account way longer. So that is, again, quite insane, quite amazing. Check out the Epic Store. Make an account, get some free games. Tell them Q sent you. Q and Roger. Yeah, that's basically it. So that's the shout out for this week, Rog. How about we say, say later to these beautiful people, and let's get out of here. I need to go get breakfast. I'm hungry.
Yeah, it's true.
That's the second breakfast.
I need to go to the bathroom. We all have our needs, and whatever. Thank you for listening, my friends. Take care. Have a beautiful week. Stay healthy, and as Q said, check out Epic Games and the store and everything. The possibilities to get some good free games out there. It's definitely worth it. And with that said, just have a good one, and we'll talk soon again. Muffin and out.
Beautiful as always. So with that, guys, thank you very much for listening to this episode of That Beautiful Life. You can find Rog at 40 Splish Splash pretty much anywhere. That's number 40 with SPLISH, SPLASH. He streams on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and a Sunday. That's correct?
Correct, sir.
Ooh, beautiful. You can find me at LB Gardens, Gardens.you, pretty much everywhere else. It's at BGRDIN. You can also find me streaming on a Monday and a Thursday at Simply Binge. So feel free to check me out on Twitch if you like that kind of stuff. And you can find pretty much all of our stuff everywhere else at Simply Binge UK. With that being said, as always, we would like you guys to submit on any of the episodes of That Beautiful Life podcast. Many beautiful people like to subscribe to this podcast on Castbox, Acast, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Simply Binge, or coming elsewhere. And we're so confident they're going to like it, that we're giving them for free. So as always, guys, this has been queued for your pleasure. And it's a wrap. There is the episode.